It is all-out war between Quirkyloverosee and Keemstar from the LCU. Now, you know that they are releasing this documentary on the 9th, the Finding Paradise, Big Girls Wanted. And on the LCU, specifically Local Bus, they have been covering this. They interviewed Stefan, who is the owner of the Paradise in Las Vegas, where these big girls go. And I think that they've also, I haven't been following them too closely because they're hard to tolerate. But I believe they've also talked to a couple of the girls that had been at Paradise. Actually, Foxy, one of the hosts on Bus, actually had been to Paradise. So she has firsthand knowledge of it, and she personally knows Stefan. Anyways, Rosie, as you know, we see her in the trailer for this, as we would talk about, they don't tell you the price you pay, and she's all dramatic. But she's been constantly telling us how, she wasn't there, and this isn't about her, she doesn't want to make it about her, and she doesn't want to, take the focus away from the real victims and this and that, but we will see when it comes out what her part in this documentary really is. So, she went on a rage against Keemstar and the LCU. She called him this and that, and they're exploiting these victims, and he's just a horrible, horrible person. Yeah, Keemstar has been in a lot of controversy, and she wants to bring up somebody named Etika. Now, supposedly Etika was a friend of Keemstar's, and he was suffering through some psychosis. And I don't know the whole story. I don't really want to get into the whole story. But this, Keemstar had made some sort of comment to Etika, and Etika had ended up unaliving himself. But his family and his friends and his girlfriend had said, this was not the fault of Keemstar, but a lot of people in Gorl world and whatnot are saying this was Keemstar's fault. And, that was Rosie's big thing, and about how she claims that they're trying to make money off of these victims, okay? So, Keemstar gets word of this, and he goes ballistic. I mean, he's just tearing Rosie up. He didn't even know who Rosie was until somebody had pointed out all these things that she had said about him in this video she had made about him. And Keemstar was just vicious in the things he was saying about Rosie, but you know what? They were all pretty much true. So, Keemstar has vowed that they are going to exclusively cover Rosie and roast Rosie. Since he says since she wants to talk about him, he'll start talking about her. And then Foxy, like I said, one of the hosts on Bus, said she had even reached out to Rosie. Now, we don't have clarification if it was before this video Rosie made or after. But she had asked Rosie if she wanted to come be interviewed on Bus, but Rosie had turned this down. And according to her, Rosie was very cordial in the DMs. And then it's also come out that supposedly when Amberlynn Reed first went on to Bus, she's no longer on there, as you know, she had even asked Rosie to come on there. But Rosie had declined because she just hates the LCU. So, last night was the beginning of this roasting of Rosie. Fupa goes in hard. Fupa Cheese goes in real hard at first. She starts talking about how Rosie still lives at home with her parents. She doesn't make content. All her content, her quote-unquote content consists of, which is true, is her rolling around in her office chair in her kitchen, making large portions of food and eating large portions of food. We've already discussed that, how I feel she is catering to the feeder fetish community. We've already spoke on that. But Fupa nails it. She just, goes on and on and on. And it's a well-known fact in Gorl world that Rosie has wanted to be a part of Gorl world for a long time now. She claims no, she doesn't. And Gorl world, as she said recently in one of her other videos, is a mental illness and this and that. But we all know that she has wanted so bad. That's why she's tried to align herself with Foodie Beauty, with Amberlynn Reed, because she wanted to be a part of this. And now that she's getting all this attention because of this documentary that's coming out, she's not liking it now. So, and they also are speculating that Rosie is jealous of Amberlynn. I believe that. I do believe that. Because of, Amberlynn getting that spot on bus when she was there. I don't think I don't know. Rosie may have went on bus. She may or may not have. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards no, but anyways. So then, the roast goes on, and Tech Protect, he seems to have been drinking. He's trying to get all of the lore about Rosie and this and that. And it was just wild. They tore Rosie up. And Stefan comes on, like I said, the man that owns Paradise. And he has said that a ceasefire has been made between him and Rosie. Because the previous night, Rosie was in a live here on TikTok, and she was very cordial to Stefan, whom she claims to have all these issues with. Claims she can't stand him, this and that. He's doing these girls so terribly. I don't know the story. I haven't seen the documentary. None of that. I haven't listened too much to the girl stories yet, so I can't speak on that. But her and Stefan were quite cordial. So then last night, Zio Mara is in a live, and Fupa Cheese is on there, Foxy's on there, and some other women. And they are talking about their friend that had been at Paradise who passed away, a woman by the name of Shay. And guess who is on the live with them? Rosie. And she's consistently trying to make this all about her. And, they're asking her questions. What do you have to do with this? And Rosie is saying a whole bunch of, she's saying a whole lot, but saying nothing at the same time. There was no substance to anything she said and no clear answers to anything. Okay. She even, a couple days ago or last week, she even called off one of her members-only streams. Claims she wasn't feeling good, having pain flares and whatnot, and went on a live with Zio. Because she wants this exposure, even though she's saying she doesn't. So people in the chat are telling Rosie to go sit down, be quiet. They're throwing tomatoes at Rosie. It's a mess. You could tell nobody is Team Rosie. Nobody wants to hear anything Rosie has to say. Now, here's what happened. Guess who came up onto the panel? Okay Then. If you don't know who Okay Then is, that is Tommy, Emily, Amberlynn Reed's girlfriend. And as soon as Tommy pops up on the screen, Rosie drops off. And nobody can figure out what happened. Why did Rosie drop off? What's going on? Emily's up here like a dummy, not saying anything. So why she even went up on the panel, I don't know. She had nothing to offer. I mean, we do know she's friends with Zio, and she talks to Zio quite often in DMs. So, there's speculation there that there may be something there that's yet to be determined. So anyways, Emily decides she's going to drop back down. As soon as she drops back down, Rosie comes back. And Rosie starts spinning some kind of nonsense. She doesn't want anything to do with Amberlynn or Emily, and she doesn't want any part of Gorl world. And somebody says, well, what is the problem between you and Amberlynn? And I couldn't make sense of what she was saying. I don't know, something that happened some time ago. That's the only thing I could make sense of. It happened some time ago. And her and Rosie, I don't think that they were ever friends, actually. So why is Rosie, after all this time, wanting so bad to be in Girl World? All of a sudden, it makes me wonder, did Emily maybe get in Rosie's DMs? Because we know Emily's fetish, we know. And I would venture to say that Rosie is larger than ALR. Now, this is all speculation. Nobody else has brought this up that I'm aware of. But maybe Emily was in Rosie's DMs or something, and Rosie was super uncomfortable, and that's why she dropped off. I don't know. But Rosie kept coming and going. Then Stefan came up, and Rosie drops again, even though they are cordial. But she doesn't want anybody to know that. Now you know. She doesn't want anything to do with Stefan again. Rosie is all over the place. But this is getting interesting. I think Rosie is the perpetual victim, and she's finally getting everything that she has coming to her. She doesn't want to answer any of the hard questions. So let's just see what becomes of this.